Hello, viewers. Jaka here, and I have a guest today that I'm going to have a little chat with, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it's my dear friend Chris. And Chris and I have known each other for we're not sure how many years. I used to be an events organizer for the MS Society, and Chris and her wife were dedicated volunteers, and I always appreciated you. And you're also a master at Reiki, right?
That's true.
And so I had numerous appointments with you in that regard, and I've always enjoyed chatting with you, which is why I thought, what a great idea to ask you to join me on this Zoom and record it, because you and I we really do. We have some really beautiful, deep conversations, don't we?
Yes, yeah. I've very much enjoyed our conversations of the past.
Yeah. So welcome to my Zoom platform. And let's chat. What are we going to chat about?
Where do you want to start?
Where do I want to start? Well, I've kind of dubbed myself as the queen of surrendering these days. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be a good place, a good platform to start. I know you have bought numerous copies of my book, which I'm for.
I really have enjoyed your book immensely, yes.
Yeah, and I was getting messages from you numerous times, like, Jaka, I need another one. This one is going to be for this person for her birthday, and this one's going to be for that person. And I'm like, yeah, right on. Thanks, Chris. So yes, I appreciate you in many ways, and that's one of them.
Excellent. I appreciate that as well. And when the minute knowing you and knowing how real you are, I think for me was huge. And the book, I expected it to be educational, if you like, but I didn't expect it to hit so many buttons of mine. This inner journey of mine has been it's been a long time in the making, and I was a little bit surprised. But one of the things that I strive for is inner awareness. So the fact that it hit those buttons was good for me, and got me all excited. And I wanted those people I care about in my life to have the same opportunity.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, it just warms my heart to know that that this book has touched people like you, because I really didn't know how it was going to be received. It's my very first book. And, when I received messages from my intuitive self that I needed to be very vulnerable and write about, all the topics that I wrote about, I was like, oh gosh, okay, how are people going to receive that? Especially people who have known me for many, many years. Not that I ever thought that you were going to reject me, because we had a much stronger connection, that I knew that you would be fine, regardless of the subjects. And that it went beyond the subjects, right? It went beyond, the writing that I did about theft and about sexuality and stuff. It goes beyond that. Yeah. It does. Yeah, those were symptoms.
Yes, and I think that I live my life as daily with the thought that honesty is where I need to be. And that's how I am at peace in the day-to-day life, is with honesty. So, but also being very, very, very shy as a young person. It took a while for me, like you, to come to terms with other people's opinions. So if you're going to be honest, then you have to let go of what other people think. And because if you're first honest with yourself and then with the world, it does allow for a whole depth of honesty that is sometimes hard to fathom. But now I find myself often saying, are you going to keep that to yourself? No, that would be a lie. I can't do that. So when I read the book, that's what I read was your honesty, and that I appreciated the courage in that, and that's what I wanted to share with those people I love.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow, much appreciated for sure. Yes, and so you have been doing the surrender practice a bit yourself then, since you've read the book.
I never looked at it from that point of view. I looked at it from being aware. And I've always been, I got girl. In other words, when something occurred to me, is that, my intuition speaking? And if it was, I paid attention. And it was when I found it the hardest to follow through that I knew I was on the right track. On the other side of the coin, there are major questions in my life where other people would sit on the fence for months and months and months, and it was an instant for me. I just knew that's what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go, and I knew that my gut said, don't even think about it, just go. And that's happened over and over again, to the point now my family just asks me, what does your gut say? And they know that if I listen to that, that's what's happening, because it never fails me. Touch wood.
Beautiful. Yeah. I love that. I'm all about listening to my gut, my intuition, my higher self, whatever you want to call it, more and more. I call it my inner shit disturber most of the time, because it does throw me out of my comfort zone, and it continues to do so. This week, 2 different times, I had to have a conversation with people, one in person through Zoom actually, and one through email. And both times it was that little voice nudging me. You need to do this. You need to say this. You need to stand up for yourself. And both times it took me about a week or so. And I knew, I'm like, all right, I need to do this. And sure enough, one of them went well. The other one wasn't as well received, which I didn't expect it to be. And that's okay too,
Yes.
because I realized, I did this to honor myself. And
Yes.
not rocking the boat is an old pattern of mine.
Yes.
And I have realized over the last little bit, old habits die hard. And so it is a daily thing. It's a daily thing for me to meditate. Meditation is my medicine. It connects me with that part of me, that greater part of me. And it keeps the communication strong so that I can hear. And then, and of course, I wrote about this in the book. When my intuition says jump, I say, how high?
Exactly.
And much like what you just said, the more uncomfortable it is, the more that I know that it needs to be done. And it was uncomfortable this week, and I did it anyway.
Yes. When you learn to trust that, I think, and I think that's what, and yet at the same time, we've talked about this in the past, but, when there's doubt, I think that's the natural questioning process within ourselves. When I do doubt, I don't kick myself, or I don't beat myself up for it. I just sort of ask those questions, because that's how it just confirms what I already knew. Like I said, it seems to be it's the small things that I have doubt with. It's the huge things that I don't even give it a second thought. I just know that's where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do, and I just jump, But I think that comes with time, and I never had seen it as surrender before. But absolutely, and people in my life, people I love, have trouble with that gray space that isn't in black and white. And I don't have trouble with that at all. I know it's there, because it's impossible for it not to be. That area that merges the black with the white has got to be gray. So
yes, and it's about just being okay, welcoming everything, right? And yes, for me, as I think back in my life, I made some massive decisions and also had no issues. Did it, jumped in. So that was my nature for a bit back then too. And the little things add up. The little things are important as well. It's not just the big decisions that you make here and there. The little decisions are important. And that's why I'm always encouraging my clients to be aware, because those little decisions can be sneaky and they add up, and they're not benefiting you if you're not choosing for yourself. And this is what I've realized too, being a people pleaser in recovery. And is that when I am a Jacob pleaser, I am not just pleasing Jacob. No. I'm actually pleasing the whole. When you are doing something and it comes from self-love, it's for the greater good, and everybody benefits.
The group. Yes.
Yeah, everybody benefits, because we are one. At an energetic level, we are one. And a people pleaser often makes decision based on fear. For me, it was fear of rejection. Oh, I better
Yeah,
do what that person wants me to do, or I'm not going to be loved, right? And
exactly.
so there's fear there. Well, you're not benefiting anyone if you're living your life through fear. And
Mm.
so being a pleaser of your own and listening to your own guidance is powerful. It
I
really
agree.
is. And,
I
and,
agree.
and important.
I think also the delivery is important about that, because I think when we're people pleasers, we tend to be soft and take the back seat. And this is my own experience, but as I started finding myself and my own wants and needs, I became a little uh, larger than life, maybe, and a little more in people's faces, and that's not necessary either. It's more important to stand with strength quietly. Somehow that's stronger than the louder version, if you like. And so I'm working at perfecting that at the moment. Is
Yeah.
just be quiet
You know,
about it.
and we have that in common because I actually wrote about that too, didn't I? How I was so shy as a little girl, as you know, in my elementary school years, I wasn't super shy then, but I wasn't overly talkative. But then when I immigrated to Canada, I crawled into a little shell and didn't come out for 2 years, and I barely spoke. And I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. And it was, yeah, I felt unheard, unseen, unacknowledged, unloved, all of that. And then I overcompensated. And that's what
Yes.
we often do. I overcompensated. And so in my adult years, I started to talk a lot more. I started to be louder. I started to wear brighter, sexier clothing. I started to wear more jewelry. I started to do my hair in a more feminine way. All of that because
Oh,
I was afraid that otherwise I wouldn't be seen, heard, acknowledged, loved,
yes.
right? And so
Yeah.
it's that overcompensating and then to find a middle ground.
Yes.
And really, the key is it's not even really what you're doing, it's the energy with which you do it. If it
Yes.
comes from a place of fear, I have to be talkative and I have to wear bright clothing, or I'm afraid I'm not going to be heard, seen, whatever. That's fear. But if I come from a place of self love and self worth, and I am wearing bright clothing because I love myself
Choose to.
and I choose to, then that's completely different.
Yeah,
And I think,
I totally agree. Our journeys are more alike than you know. I also immigrated, but I came with the English language. So I immigrated in 1956 from England, and
how old were you?
five,
Five. Okay.
yeah. And I don't honestly, truthfully, have a lot of memories. I do remember school being very tough. I was not a little child either. I was quite heavy set, and so between the two of them, fitting in was never easy. So I don't know whether that similarity is a symptom of how our awareness has built, and that you have to sort of, you don't have a choice. You have to figure this out.
Yeah.
What that is a choice right there, but nonetheless, I totally agree with you. I think the experience has created that awareness, which I honestly now I value more than anything. I so appreciate it when something will come to me in the blink of an eye, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, thank goodness I was paying attention. Because if I hadn't been paying attention, it would have gone right by.
Yeah.
So I think that awareness is key.
Yes, it is. It's the number one most important component, because if you are not aware, if you're not paying attention, then you don't know what needs letting go. You're
That's true.
oblivious, right? And so awareness is that first step. So you can, yeah, put the microscope on yourself and ask yourself questions. Is this working for me?
Yes.
Is this for the greater good? Is it benefiting my health? Whatever questions. And does it come from self-love? Or
Yes.
is it a reaction out of fear or anger or shame?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's I say this over and over, but we're more alike than we are different. And just chatting with you makes that very apparent, right? And I'm receiving messages from women, mostly women, but even some men from all over the world, different walks of life, different nationalities, different ethnic backgrounds, who are saying, you just wrote my story.
Yes.
And these are people who've never had cancer. And of course, the book isn't about cancer. Cancer was my symptom
Your doorway.
of living my life in a diseased way.
Mm-hmm.
But the core, so much of us are alike, that we don't have that self-love, self-worth, that we women especially have a very strong need. We need to prove ourselves. We're very driven. We have high expectations of ourselves. And all of this is often, we're put on a pedestal for it. Society thinks that's a great thing. And you know what? It is taxing,
Yes.
and something's got to give. In my case,
Yes.
it was my health, that it just about took me out.
Yes.
And whatever it is for other people, it shows up in different ways. But I believe society needs to reevaluate that. And we're coming around.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. And
Yes.
I've realized that much of it has to do with being female.
Yeah.
With me. And that, it's the intergenerational stuff, right? That I talk about a fair bit, and how I mimicked my mother. Well, my mother mimicked her mother, and her mother mimicked her mother. And so all of these beliefs about being female have come down generationally to me from women who weren't even allowed to vote,
Yes.
who didn't have anything more than, like, I think my grandmother had a grade 6 education. And
Because that's all she was allowed to have.
mhm,
Because her job was elsewhere.
yeah,
Yes. I totally
exactly.
hear you. Yes.
And pieces of that I'm carrying at a subconscious level.
Yes.
Had you asked me this 5 years ago, I would have been like, no, I know I'm worthy. I have a university degree, and I live in a country where I'm able to vote, and I'm in a great marriage, and I contribute to, financially to the family. I'm worthy. And then when I got to dig a little deeper, I was like, oh, okay, all right, maybe it needs a bit of work. And so it's that inner work that is so vital, isn't it? It's just
Yes.
so vital,
It
because
is so.
the only way for things to change is if, in my opinion, is if we change from the inside, right?
Yes.
It's not about our male counterpart. We can't,
No.
it's about us loving ourselves for who we are, regardless of whether we're male or female, or regardless of anything, what we've done, not done. Yeah.
I totally agree. That surrender is so important, because surrendering means you accept everything that you are, good, bad, or indifferent. It
Yeah.
also means you can't change the people around you. You surrender that they are who they are, and you either love them or you don't.
Yeah.
And when you start doing that, all of a sudden the irritations of the world gently become less. And I
Yeah.
think that's the start in the right direction. But hopefully they get it earlier, your age, rather than later, my age. But it doesn't matter when you get it. It matters that you get it.
Yes, that's right. That's right. It's never too late, but yes. And I have actually had a couple of women in their 20s and 30s that have read my book and made comments. And I have said what you just said, because, I'm 51 and you're in your 60s, right? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
like,
I would have loved to have gotten that,
yes,
when I was their age.
earlier.
My children
Yes,
were younger. And I'm so grateful that I got it now.
yes, yes,
Yes, yes.
yes.
So,
We're,
and you get it when you get it.
yes, that's right.
That's another thing. And to not beat yourself up if you're not quite there,
Yeah,
right? Because it's all about being okay, welcoming whatever arises and
yeah,
holding space for it. That's what it's really about. And not beat yourself up over it, letting go of expectations. And that for me was the ticket to freedom.
yeah.
And
I hear
this freedom is showing up in all areas of my life,
you.
with myself, with relationship with others, with money, with my career, with you name it, with
Yes,
everything. Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing.
yes, I totally hear you, and I totally agree.
And on that note, shall we So we've finished off our conversation, and I really have enjoyed chatting with you. And I feel like we could do at least another 10, if not 100 of these, because we just have so much to talk about. And I would love to invite you again another time.
I'm game if you are.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Well, thanks very much, Chris. And
Thank you.
thanks everyone for watching. And please feel free to share this, like this, comment. All of those things, is all about connecting. And I am all about connecting and spreading the love.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful, fantastic day. Bye-bye.